Hi, this is Kathy White. I'm teaching Action Research 1, and I wanted to give you an overview of what we're going to be covering this semester. First of all, we're going to talk about qualitative and quantitative research methods. There's some difference between the two, and we'll talk about which one is better to use in certain situations, strengths and weaknesses, things like that. Next, we're going to talk about how you apply research to education. This class is a focus on research, so whether you're doing your internship or you are working on your master's degree, you will be focusing on research and obviously talking about how can that improve your practice. That's the reason that we have this course. The whole point of having research is so that you can improve yourself and become a better and better teacher. You will develop an action research proposal in this course, and I want to point out this is not the entire experiment. You'll do a literature review and develop a good research question and pretty much put forth a proposal that you could then in a later class pick up and carry on an actual experiment. And then you're going to present the proposal to your peers. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. I have a couple ideas for some different methods that we might be able to use to do that. So stay tuned for more details on that one. So when we think about research and you think about teaching, sometimes you might not always put the two together. Education has definitely been blamed for doing the flavor of the month idea, and I do think we're guilty of that. So one of the reasons that we have this class is so that you as a professional can determine what's good research, what's a good source, look at your own practice and think, okay, I really want to focus on this area, and then how do you judge whether or not that new thing that you're doing is effective. So that's really the nutshell of what we're going to be talking about in this course. Because you are going to be all over the state, this course is going to be conducted through Blackboard. So there are a variety of different things that I'm going to use. There will be videos, some web resources, articles, and we'll probably have some discussion through Blackboard as well. So a variety of means to find out what you need to do. And then the text for this class is What Works in Schools, Translating Research into Action. It is a Marzano book. Some of you may be familiar with his work, and Marzano does a really nice job of looking at the research out there and determining what kind of impact does this have on students. So we're going to start with that book and look at some of the different areas, whether looking at school-wide, teacher, student, and think about, okay, what area do I really want to focus on? So this book has two purposes. First, it's going to help you to narrow down your research area. And second of all, if you're a practicing teacher or if you're an intern, it'll probably impact your classroom instruction right away, and that's always a good thing. So I think this book is going to be useful to you. We will be using some of the web resources and videos, and I'll use some other means to get across some of the actual action research stuff that you need to know. But there's so much out there on the web that I will be able to fill in what you need to do for an action research proposal, and then you can use this book to narrow down your research. So when we talk about activities and assignments, obviously apply research to practice. That's going to be our number one goal. You're going to look at some different educational research and critique it. It's really important that a person's able to determine what is good research, what's valid. I mean, if you have some experiment somebody did and there were two people, and is that enough to really make a determination about whether or not this is something I want to try? Different things like that. Some of it you'll know, some of it will be new. And then, like I said, probably the biggest point-wise is to develop an action research proposal. And that's going to involve really looking at what area you want to focus on, and like I said, doing a literature review and a few other things. So we'll get more details on that. And then presenting to peers. So once I get the syllabus completed, we will talk about what exactly that will look like as far as points, but that's what you're going to be doing. All right, how to succeed. This is very important. Check your LSSU email frequently. That is the only way that I have to communicate with you. I don't use other email, we just use the LSSU email. So make sure you're checking that when I send out updates, or if I send out reminders or feedback, that's how I'm going to send it. I do not use the Blackboard email just because doesn't seem to be as timely for me. The LSSU email is, I can give you a faster turnaround. I don't have to actually log on to Blackboard and check, so it's just a little bit faster. So LSSU email, and check it, I would say at least daily, especially if you're an intern. You definitely want to be watching that, because that's how other faculty are going to communicate with you as well. Pay attention to due dates. Some of you have had me before, and you're aware that I do not accept late work. I think it's market professionalism to have your work done on time. So that's something that's very important, and you don't want to lose points in a class just because you didn't get something turned in on time. One of the first assignments we're going to do is we're going to actually map out your time, well, you are, and you're going to look to see, okay, when am I going to do this piece, when am I going to do that piece, and you need to look at your personal schedule, you know, whatever family commitments you have or job, whatever you're working on, and kind of figure out when am I going to do these different pieces. So hopefully that will help a little bit, especially those of you that are interning. I know what that year's like. I've been there, and I know that sometimes all of a sudden you blink and a month is gone. So I would like to put in some supports to try to help you get through that, so that you can get everything turned in on time and have this be a really valid experience and not something that you're rushing to get done at the last minute, which, again, I've been there, so I understand how that goes. Read your rubrics carefully. I have detailed rubrics on all my assignments, and you're only graded on what's on the rubric. So if you look through the rubric and you have hit every aspect, you're good, you're golden, you're going to get an A on it. If you miss a piece and you don't have something that I have stated on the rubric, obviously you're going to lose points on that. And the two things that I've seen when I look at student grades, people either don't turn things in on time, or they didn't read the rubric carefully, so they missed a whole aspect of the assignment. And those are really the two main reasons that people lose points in my courses. So make sure that you are turning things in on time and you're really looking at those rubrics. And I would even recommend, if you have somebody, even somebody who's not in education, but maybe have somebody read your work and grade it according to that rubric before you turn it in. Sometimes it's helpful if you have somebody who's not in education, because they don't make assumptions. Somebody who's in education might make assumptions, oh, well, you meant this and this, because they have that background. So if you have a friend or a significant other that you can draw on to read your work, that's awesome. And have them look over the rubric to judge, okay, did I hit all of this? Also review Blackboard modules. Like I said, I'm going to have to fill in some of the action research how-to stuff with Blackboard modules and some of the other background information, so make sure that you review those. I will try to make them as interesting as I possibly can, but that's how you're going to get some of your information. So really make sure that you're reading those and watching the videos. And finally, it's very important, ask questions. Please don't wait until it's crisis mode. Ask questions. Email's probably going to be the easiest, especially if you are either an intern or you're working all day. Email's probably going to be a little bit easier, but I also don't mind people calling me at home. When you get the syllabus, it'll have my home number and then of course my office number, but I'm not going to be in my office in the evenings, hopefully. So call me at home in the evenings, weekends, that's fine, or email. But please ask a lot of questions. If at any time you get stumped or you're just not sure, you just want confirmation, ask questions. Chances are somebody has the question, somebody else is asking that same question, and if you put it in, you know, I may do a response and realize, oh geez, I don't have this clear, and so I have to clarify it for everybody. So you might be doing somebody else a favor. Okay, so what are you going to do now? Start reading What Works in Schools. I don't have an actual assigned reading schedule for that. I'm just want you to read it, basically cover to cover. It's a good book. Marzano, I think, is pretty easy to read. He does have some statistics and things in there, but it's a fairly easy read. So start reading that. See, you might even get some ideas before school starts of, oh, I really want to make sure I focus on classroom management, or I really want to focus on this other aspect. So start reading that and get an idea of what it's about. Watch your LSSU email for updates and messages, and then of course the Blackboard modules. I will have Blackboard up on the 27th at the latest, but I'm actually hoping to have it up sooner than that. So if you watch your LSSU email, I'll send you an email the second that it's available for you to get on and see what everything's about. So stay tuned for that. All right, so good luck to all of you over the next semester. Please stay in touch. Some of you I know are further away. I might not get to see you in person until we meet in actual class in a little while. So stay in touch, email, phone calls, watch that Blackboard modules, and I will see you in a couple months.